If you're watching this towards the end of January when it gets uploaded, I suspect something might have just happened. That excitement that you felt at the beginning of the month, that quiet certainty that this was going to be the year that you finally finished your book, has probably been tempered a little by real life. Not disappeared, just dulled slightly. Life has a habit of doing that, doesn't it? The routines creep back in, energy levels kind of wobble a bit, and suddenly writing doesn't feel quite as clean or as simple as it did on January the 1st. And if that's where you are right now, I just want to let you know that that is perfectly normal. This is a normal part of the writing process, and it happens to almost every writer, whether you're just starting out or whether you've been doing this for years. January is that month that encourages us to make very big promises to ourselves. We decide we're going to write consistently, confidently, and without doubt. We imagine neat sessions where the words just flow easily and the story and characters behaves itself exactly the way we want it to. But unfortunately, and what many of us tend to forget, no matter how many times we've been through it, is that real life doesn't reset itself just because the calendar's turned over. You are still going to get tired. You're still going to have obligations. You're still going to have days when your brain feels foggy and resistant. And that's, yeah, when the writing starts to feel difficult again, it's very easy to assume that that means something is wrong with you or with the project or with your ability to do it at all. And this is where we struggle with the idea of perfection. That belief that if you were doing this properly, this being writing a book, finishing a book, or whatever else, but that if you were doing it, if you were just doing it properly, then your words would come more smoothly. The story would just magically appear on the page, and you wouldn't need to struggle to get anything on the page. Perfection sounds reassuring, but yeah, it's also really, really unhelpful. It's not an expectation you need to carry around. No writer writes like that. Because if you've got that idea in your head, it convinces you that unless the situation is perfect, unless my neighbor's kids aren't yelling next door, unless the sun is only at a specific angle in the sky, whatever else, whatever it is you're telling yourself, if those conditions aren't met, what, I can't write? That's not the truth. And probably your logical brain probably knows that. You don't need to be perfect or have perfect conditions or have perfect anything to write or finish a book. Aiming for perfection is actually the one thing that slows writers down far more than a lack of talent or a discipline could. When perfection becomes the goal, when you're striving for that mythical way that you think people write, you are going to hesitate. You're going to rewrite the same chapter over and over again, or you're going to delay working on your book at all because, yeah, today didn't feel like a good writing day. And the problem is when you start to get into that way of thinking, weeks have passed and you haven't made any real progress at all. Not because you didn't care, but because the bar you set was so impossibly high. What actually gets books finished isn't brilliance or flawless execution. It's persistence. It's the willingness to sit down and work on the story, even when it feels awkward or unclear, even when you're sitting there thinking, my words are crap, write them anyway and keep going. I've done that more than once. You've got to show up consistently. You're not worrying about perfection. It is far more important to get words down than to worry about how polished those words are. I think one of the hardest things for any writer to accept is that they are allowed to write badly, especially in the early stages of a book. First drafts are not meant to be elegant. They're just meant to exist. They're that place where you start to discover what the story is really about, where you get to learn more about your characters. And then that's where the whole shape of the book starts to emerge. Judging that stage or judging your writing at that stage is like, I don't know, criticizing a sketch for not being a finished painting. Editing is what improves sentences, deepens emotion, and sharpens your structure. But the thing with editing is that you can't edit a blank page. You have to have something to edit. And that is what your first draft is for. Yet so many writers stop themselves because they're evaluating their work before it's even finished yet, expecting it to look like a completed novel before it's had half a chance to be one. Another thing that I have seen, and again, this is a January problem, but I have seen it throughout the rest of the year as well, is the amount of pressure writers put on themselves to be really intense about their goals. They've got to have this specific daily word count every day or they're a failure. They've got to have strict routines, and heaven help you if you get an unexpected visitor and during your writing time. They have these ambitious targets that sound really motivating when they're talking about them while they're half cut on Christmas Eve. But when it comes to New Year's Day and they actually start it, that sort of structure can sometimes get really exhausting. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people do genuinely thrive under pressure and they like a structure. But for many others, it creates that situation of an all or nothing mindset. So if they miss a day because they've been sick, or there's a little one home from school, or you've had something unexpected happen, that day of missed writing becomes a failure. And then that sense of failure makes it really difficult to write the next day or the day after that. So I think a more sustainable way to think about it is to focus on consistency rather than how much. If you get 10 minutes to write, that counts. If you get 200 words, that counts. I've spoken before in previous videos, like last year and what have you, talking about taking your phone into the bathroom and staying there for 5 minutes and just tippy-tapping on your phone for 5 minutes. This all counts. Even if you've got the time to just reread a scene and make a few notes about what's coming next, that counts. Your progress isn't measured by, it's not measured by what anybody else thinks or what anybody else presumes. It's measured by whether or not you came back to that work and how many days you kept coming back to that work. Every time, every day, every time you go back to writing your work or working on your book, you are strengthening the habit of somebody who writes. And that means far more than how many words you got done in a day. Another point about this is about motivation, because there are some writers who will, particularly newer ones, they wait for motivation before they write. And I don't know why that is. I think some people just get the idea that you need that confidence and enthusiasm to write your story, and that your actions, writing the book, will follow automatically from that. But your confidence grows through repetition. Momentum develops because you keep showing up every day, or, however often you've decided you need to show up for. And waiting to feel ready can keep you stuck for a very long time, whether it's starting a new work or finishing one that you've been writing for a considerable long time. You don't write because you feel confidence. You feel confident because you keep writing, even on those days where it feels uncomfortable or slow. There's also this heavy sense of comparison that shows up about this time of year as well. That feeling of that maybe you're behind where you thought that you might have been when you were making these dreams over Christmas, or maybe you feel like you're behind another author who's producing more and they're doing it faster and they appear to be doing it more easily. It's one thing you should know is that there's no universal timeline for how long it takes a person to finish a book, okay? I write a book in a month. I have no other life. I just write. Well, I market and everything else, but whatever. My life is a full-time author, okay? But you have got a life. You may have a job. You may have children. You've probably got a significant other. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You have got things that take your time and your energy, and you have commitments to them, and you're not going to give all that up just to write, okay? So you fit, so long as you show up, do a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. All those little bits that you do add up. And don't go comparing yourself to somebody else who appears to write really quickly, because maybe they're like me and maybe they've got nothing else in their lives. Every single time you sit down to write, even if it's just the smallest thing, you are making a small but meaningful promise to yourself. You are telling yourself that your story matters, that your voice matters, and that you're willing to do the work even when it isn't comfortable. Finishing a book isn't about proving anything to anyone else. It's about building a trust with yourself, the trust that you can keep going, that you can tolerate imperfection, and that you can complete something meaningful over time. Because as I've said many times before, that typing the end feeling never gets old. It really doesn't. And if you have slipped, if you've missed days or weeks or longer, it doesn't matter. You don't need to start over or make more dramatic declarations. And you definitely don't need to guilt yourself, feel guilty, or punish yourself before it. You just need to keep going. You just need to begin again, to sit down and open your document and write the next sentence. That's all you need to do. And then you write the next one after that, and the next one after that. And eventually that's how your book is finished. So if your writing feels slower than you had hoped right now, or if your enthusiasm has dipped, or maybe you've got some perfection issues that are quietly telling you that you're not doing enough, well, you can shut that voice up for a start. You don't need to be perfect to be a writer. You don't need to feel inspired every day. You don't have to have everything figured out in advance. You only need to keep showing up. Over time, more words come, confidence grows, and the book moves closer to being finished, one imperfect session at a time. Believe it or not, you're doing better than you think, and it's okay to keep going at your own pace. Just keep showing up. So there we go, my friends. What do you think? How are you getting on? Did you make any writing goals for New Year? I know I didn't. There was no point. I know I was going to keep writing no matter what. So, but did you make writing goals for your New Year's resolutions? How is that coming along? Or are you like me and you just keep going? The thing is that we all keep doing things differently. We all do, you know, even though we all have a similar end goal, finish book, we all do it differently. We all get there differently. And I think that's what's really fascinating. So I'd really love to hear how you are getting on. Incidentally, if you didn't know, if you're new here, I do answer every comment. So if you want to ask a question or you've got any issues or you just want to say hi, I'd love to hear from you. But if you found this helpful at all, I put out long form content on Mondays and Thursdays. I'd really like it if you could hit the like and subscribe button, but you either will or you won't. Apparently, as I say, I am meant to ask this every time, and so I'm trying to make it a routine. But in the meantime, my lovely friends, please keep writing. No matter what else, please keep writing and know that I believe in you, and I know you can finish your book. So until next time, my friends, have fun with it, and we will see you then. Bye.